The Wilson family had learned how heavy silence could be. Noah Wilson was 8 years old, with dark, curious eyes and a habit of clutching the sleeves of his hoodie when he felt overwhelmed. 2 years earlier, after a traumatic incident at his elementary school in suburban Boston, Noah had stopped speaking. Doctors explained it in clinical terms: trauma-induced mutism, emotional shutdown. But none of those words softened the reality for his parents. Their once talkative son now lived in a world without sound. Andrew and Claire Wilson had done everything responsible parents were supposed to do. They spent thousands on therapists, neurologists, child psychologists, and special programs. Noah cooperated in every session. He listened, he nodded, he followed instructions, but he never spoke. Each appointment ended with the same careful reassurance: give it time. That afternoon, they were returning from yet another evaluation downtown, one that had offered no new hope. The city was busy, crowded with commuters and tourists, the early winter air sharp and grey. Noah sat quietly in the back seat of their SUV, staring out the window as if the world were happening far away from him. They stopped at a red light near an old shopping block. That was when a small figure approached the car. She was a little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, wrapped in a thin, oversized jacket that had clearly belonged to someone else. Her sneakers were worn, her hair tangled, her cheeks red from the cold. She didn't hold a sign or ask for money. She simply walked slowly between the cars, looking inside. When she reached the Wilsons' vehicle, her eyes met Noah's. Instead of looking away, she smiled. It wasn't the polite smile adults give out of habit. It was open, natural, almost curious. Without hesitation, she lifted her hand and gently placed it against the window, right in front of Noah. Inside the car, everything froze. Noah stared at her hand for a long moment. Then slowly, as if guided by something deeper than thought, he raised his own hand and pressed it against the glass from the inside, palm to palm, separated only by a thin barrier. Claire felt her chest tighten. Andrew forgot to breathe. For the first time in years, Noah wasn't retreating. He wasn't shrinking away. He was connecting. The light turned green. Cars behind them began to honk. The girl pulled her hand back, slightly startled, and then gave Noah a small wave before stepping away into the crowd. As the SUV moved forward, Noah kept his hand raised, his eyes fixed on the spot where she'd been standing. Then his shoulders began to shake. A single tear slid down his cheek. Claire twisted around in her seat. "Noah," she whispered, her voice trembling. He didn't answer, but his lips quivered, as if he were trying to remember how words were formed. A soft sound escaped his throat, not a word, not quite a cry, but something new, something alive. That night, long after Noah had gone to bed, Claire and Andrew sat all. Claire couldn't stop thinking about the little girl. All night, the image of her small hand against the glass replayed in her mind, along with the way Noah's face had changed in that moment. By morning, Claire felt a quiet certainty she couldn't explain. Something important had begun, and it wasn't finished yet. After dropping Noah at school, Claire drove back into the city. She returned to the same intersection, then walked the surrounding streets, scanning faces, doorways, bus stops. Nearly an hour passed before she spotted the familiar oversized jacket near a closed cafe. The little girl sat on the sidewalk, legs tucked under her, carefully breaking a piece of bread in half. Claire approached slowly, not wanting to frighten her. "Hi," she said gently. "Do you remember the boy in the car yesterday?" The girl looked up. Her eyes were cautious but not afraid. She nodded. "He looked sad," she said quietly. Her name was Emma. Emma explained in simple sentences that her mother had died the year before and that she'd been moving between shelters since then. Some nights there wasn't space. Some days she stayed invisible to avoid trouble. She didn't ask Claire for money. She didn't ask for help. She spoke as if hardship was simply a fact like the weather. Claire invited her to have lunch. With proper care, phone calls, and coordination with local services, Emma later visited the Wilson home under supervision. She arrived wearing clean, borrowed clothes, her posture guarded but polite. Noah watched from the couch as she stepped inside. Emma didn't rush toward him. She didn't ask questions. She sat on the living room floor and quietly pulled out a small pack of crayons someone had given her. She began to draw. Minutes passed in silence. Then Noah stood up. He walked over slowly and sat beside her. He picked up a crayon and began to color on the same page. They didn't look at each other. They didn't speak. But they stayed close. After a while, Emma spoke softly, her eyes still on the drawing. "You don't have to talk if you don't want to." I didn't talk much for a long time either. Noah's hand froze. He swallowed. His parents held their breath. Then in a voice so fragile it almost disappeared into the room, Noah spoke. "Me too." Claire sank to her knees, covering her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Andrew stood frozen, unable to process what he had just heard. The word was small, but it carried the weight of 2 years of silence. From that moment on, Noah began to speak again, not all at once, not easily but honestly. Therapists later explained that what he experienced wasn't sudden recovery, but recognition. Emma hadn't tried to fix him. She had understood him. In the weeks that followed, Emma's life changed too. With support, stability, and care, she no longer slept on sidewalks or waited in the cold. She had a room, warm meals, and people who listened. 2 children, both wounded in different ways, had found something in each other that Prof.